Hello everybody, my name is Ollie, I'm a junior doctor living and working in the UK, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today is going to be all about medical payslips. Today is payday for me and many other junior doctors all around the country, and I thought this would be a chance to make a dedicated video about medical payslips, how much doctors actually earn, that is junior doctors, people just starting work as an FY1, and what the earning potential of junior doctors might be like, because obviously while many people go straight from school to become doctors and won't have known a career outside of their medical pathway, many people like myself will have left previous employment and previous degrees and careers and walks of life in order to change and become a doctor, and these people are often leaving significant earning potential behind. So I thought this would be a good chance for some transparency and to show you my medical payslip. You won't be able to see this at all, but this is going to be overlaid on the screen for most of the video, and we're going to go through each component of the payslip. You can see exactly how much I've earned, we're going to break my pay down, and then at the end I'm going to tell you what I've actually spent it on, because I've actually spent already most of this paycheck, this payslip, and you'll see how. And on screen now you'll be able to see my payslip. Obviously I've changed some of the relevant details and removed bits here and there just because they are personal information to me. But let's start at the very top left with our assignment number. This is simply our personal identification number, payroll number that is linked to me specifically and used by my trust. We then obviously next to that have my name, Dr. Oliver Burton, which is my professional name and title by which I'll receive payment, and then the venue where I work. Then coming to the next line down we can see my department, and this does vary. I believe I have seen variations on exactly what they use here. This particular payslip just uses the name of my trust, but I have seen some places specifically use the department. If you were working in general surgery, say it might say general surgery instead of the trust, your mileage may vary. We've then next to that got my official job title. I'm obviously working as an FY1 within the realms of general surgery. My job is a bit more specialised than that, but that is the department under which I fall. And then next to that, this is one of the more important values, your pay scale description. This is the pay scale according to which everything else is based and you are actually paid. So for most of us starting work, this is going to be the 2016 junior doctor's contract that applies within England. Then we're coming to the third line down, the one with the big NHS logo on it. One of the ones you'll be most interested in is salary/wage, and this is simply your full-time annual wage, assuming that you work a full 40 hours a week and you are paid the full amount for your particular role and grade of training. There can be slight variations to this amount depending on where exactly you're working and what exactly you're doing. For a brand new FY1 like me who's just started working, this value will be around £28,500 a year. That is the standard rate for a brand new junior doctor. Coming across, we then have next to that our standard hours, which is the number of hours per week that is used to calculate our rate of basic pay. This obviously does not reflect the real life number of hours that you are working, but basically, if you're working a standard full-time junior doctor's contract, this will be equivalent to 40 hours per week. Like I say, it doesn't reflect reality, it's more of an admin number that is used to calculate your basic pay. Then for the last box here on the right hand side, we have your part-time salary or wage, and obviously for me, this is the same as my full-time wage because I don't work part-time. But there are options, fresh out of med school, even as a foundation doctor, to work less than full-time if you need that, and there are a variety of reasons why you might want to do that, where you could work 60% of full-time, so 3 days a week, or 80% of full-time, 4 days a week, in which case this value will be adjusted to reflect your pay. So all it is effectively is your basic pay multiplied by the number of hours you work, then divided by 40. Because for me, this is how my wage would normally be calculated at 40 hours. The value is the same. Coming down to the next line, we then have our tax office name and our tax office reference or PAYE number. And this number is important if you ever need to claim any personal expenses or you fill out a self-tax assessment. This is the number that you will need to quote, so it's worth knowing what it is. Next to that we have the tax code, and there is a lot to say about tax codes, but basically what you should be looking for as a brand new junior doctor is something like 1256L, which is the tax code that I'm being paid under. And all this means is that because I'm still within the approximately £12,500 of personal allowance for my income, I'm not paying income tax yet. When I cross over that £12,500, which will be in 5 or 6 months' time, I will start to pay income tax. But for the moment, I'm not, and that's what this tax code indicates. And then lastly, on the right here, obviously you'll all know what a national insurance number is. It's basically used to pay state benefits, essentially is the way I would think about it. And some very small amount of money for the NHS comes from national insurance as well, and we will all contribute. Obviously, I've removed mine. It's a very personal identifier and often used as part of identity checks if you're doing anything with the government. So then we're going to come on to the slightly more confusing but interesting parts of an NHS payslip, so we can go through it and work out what each bit means. We're going to work down each column because I think it's easier to understand that way, and start with basic pay. So this is the number of hours essentially that I am working at my basic pay rate. The reason why we have this very odd looking number is that 40 hours per week is 173.8 hours per month worked. Then the line below that, this additional rostered hours NP, is where any weekly working hours that aren't accounted for in your standard 40-hour week contract, this is where they appear. So for me, this means that I'm working approximately 45 to 46 hours per week, which is actually what I'm contracted for. So those missing 6 hours appear in this second line here. They're paid at the exact same rate as my normal day job, it's just additional working hours beyond the standard 40-hour week. We then have night duty at an additional 37%, and the explanation for this is that some shifts, most characteristically night shifts within the NHS, are paid at a premium rate because they are deemed what are called unsociable hours. The rest of the world works very much on a 9 to 5 daytime cycle, and if you're sleeping through the day and working through the night, it kind of upsets your balance with the rest of the world a little bit, and this is recognised in a pay premium of 37% above your basic rate of pay. And then finally at the bottom here on the last line we have the weekend pay, which again is paid at a slightly premium rate, and it will also indicate how many weekends you are due to work on your rota. So for me that's between 1 in 3 weekends and 1 in 4 weekends, so essentially 1 weekend a month I will work at the hospital on call. If you work in London, there may be an extra entry on here called LDN zone or London zone, something like that. And this accounts for the approximately extra £2,000 a year that you get for living and working in London, as it just recognises that the cost of living in London is substantially higher than other parts of the UK. Moving over to the next column, this is simply the number of hours worked in that particular category bracket. So obviously in most circumstances these two numbers in the first two columns are going to be the same, but then we get onto the interesting bit in the next column, which is the rate. And for me, that you can see that this is £13.81 an hour. That is the basic FY1 hourly rate where I work, and indeed throughout the country. And then lastly in the right hand column, this is where everything's multiplied together and you can see exactly how much money you have earned within each category. So you can see that my normal day shift hours paid at my normal basic rate earned me £2,400 for this past month. Then on the right hand side you can see deductions. These are things that are taken away from our pay. So we've got things like our national insurance contribution, which goes towards these state benefits, the NHS pension, which is widely considered to be one of the better pensions that you can invest into, and by default it's usually a good idea for new doctors to invest into the NHS pension. And then student loan contributions for me as well, for which they've taken £69. Nice. In this column as well is where income tax would normally appear as PAYE and then the amount that you're due. But like I said before, because I'm still within that £12,500 personal allowance, I am not yet paying any income tax. And that's actually important because that's going to rationalise some of my spending, which we'll go through in a minute. Then to keep things really simple, coming down to the bottom here, we take our total gross pay, which for me is £3,045, removing any deductions, which for me is £562, and then you get your take-home value, which is how much money actually appears in your bank account, which for me this month, the month of August, my first month working as a junior doctor, was £2,483, which is a lovely, lovely step up from being a medical student and earning nothing. So now I'm very quickly going to go through what I've actually spent my first month's paycheck or payslip, if you prefer, on. It's actually nearly all gone, but let's cover why now. The first thing I wanted to do was put away a month's rent, so obviously I can pay next month's rent. I pay my rent on the 12th of every month, so I've actually already paid rent for the month of August. That was taken care of, but it seemed very sensible to put aside next month's rent for September, so I don't have to think about that until next payday. So that's £800, which is the rent I'm paying for this place monthly, put to one side. So that leaves me with about £1,700. And I actually thought, you know, given that I'm currently within my tax-free allowance, I'm not paying any income tax yet, this is the maximum amount of money that I'm going to receive every month, because in a little while I'm going to start to lose 20% or whatever I will lose of my earnings. So I thought it's sensible to put away another month's rent now, because I've got the excess cash. I'm in a place where I can comfortably put that away, and that means that I don't have to be short next month either, or I don't have to worry about it. So I put away another month's rent. I've just put that into a savings account where I can't get at it unless I go out of my way to access it. So I've now put away £1,600, but that's September's rent and October's rent that I now don't have to think about. That's 2/3 of my rent gone, but I didn't think that was such a terrible thing. I then need to think about saving, obviously, so I decided that I was going to put 10% of whatever my pay was into savings. So I'll put £250 into a savings account, so that's gone. About £500 left. Here's where we perhaps get a little bit more exciting and interesting. What I decided to do, given that this is my first substantive income from the job that I've kind of always dreamed of having and have been working towards for a while, I decided that I'd get each of my parents a nice gift for them, something that was actually nice and they could enjoy, and I really wanted to be something that wasn't kind of useful in any way. It would just be a nice extravagance, the sort of thing that they would never buy for themselves. So for my mum, I got her one of the Hotel Chocolat velvetizer machines, the ones that makes really nice foamy hot chocolate and things like that, and a starter kit with some melting chocolate and stuff to make the kit work. That was about £100 for that kit, and I'm really pleased that I've been able to get that for her. She deserves it. And for my dad, this was a bit more difficult because my dad's not really into stuff. Like he's not a real big collector of anything. What I decided that I was going to get him like an experience of some sort, or something that he would enjoy. And what I decided I would do is that I would give him some money, or I would essentially put it in the form of a voucher so he couldn't get it back to me in any way or reject it. It needed to be firmly unrejectable. So I rung him after work one day with an ultimatum, and I sort of said, Dad, look, you know, I've got this money, I want to get you something, and I don't want you to complain or reject it or anything. I looked up some places locally to where we live. I'm from North Yorkshire, and there are a few Michelin star places around there, some high-end gastropubs, and basically what I wanted was an experience where him and his partner could go and basically not have to think about the money. They could just order whatever they wanted and it would be paid for through the voucher, so they could get literally whatever they want on the venue. And I sort of had visions of him going to some, you know, fancy high-end place, and after much argumentation he gave in, and he was like, you know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to go to a tomahawk steakhouse. Which is just fantastic. Nothing but respect for that man. So he's got £100 to go and have an amazing meal at Tomahawk Steakhouse, which I hope will be as amazing as it sounds. So what I've done is I've split the remaining £400. So £200 is just floating cash to pay for groceries and things like that. I don't pay bills here, or they're all included in the rent that I pay, so I don't have to think about Wi-Fi, water, heating, electric, all the rest of it. It's just floating cash. And then the other £200 I am putting towards sitting the MRCS Part A, which I'm going to sit in January 2022. This is the first of my postgraduate exams that I need or / want to do at this stage as a doctor. If you want to train as a surgeon in the UK, the MRCS Part A, Member of the Royal College of Surgeons, is one of the prerequisite exams you have to take before you can enter most types of surgical training. Put £200 away this month and take the rest. It's £560, I believe, to sit. I'm going to take the rest of the money from next month's pay. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how much I've earned in my first month working as a junior doctor and how I've summarily spent it. I hope you found that interesting. Please be sure to hit that like button for me, leave a comment, subscribe, and don't forget to go and check out ollieburton.com for my blog of working life as a doctor and all of my videos just like this one. Take care, and I'll see you next time.